Hello and welcome to our channel, MarshStream, your public performance broadcast platform. Please make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. You can also donate to our tip jar and support the arts and artists of MarshStream by clicking the link below in the description. Check out our website, themarsh.org, for all upcoming live performances. Now, enjoy the show.
Hi, welcome. Welcome to the Marsh, or welcome to my living room, which is what the Marsh is these days, as well as the homes of the performers you're going to see here tonight. I wanted to mention that we're going to leave a couple of mics unmuted tonight so that the performers have the benefit of a little bit of auditory feedback. This is all new work you're going to be seeing here tonight, so that's a little bit of a miracle. Things just coming out of, the inspiration of the last couple of months. So then I'd like to just, without further ado, introduce our first performer of the night. Please welcome Judith C. Dambowic.
I want to explain my sister to you. But Judith, you never talk to us about your dad. Look, Marcy and I shared a bedroom. She's older by 2 years and 2 days. Now my single bed shared a wall against my parents' room. I once used a big pen to dig a hole in the plaster, hoping to get a glimpse of what was happening on the other side. But the hole was discovered before it was functional. We grew up at the tail end of Brooklyn. It's a place called Sheep's Head Bay, not far from the water, more like a small fishing village made up of mostly European immigrants. I'd ride around on my bike all day long, peering into kitchen windows. And when I was old enough to ride the elevated subway, it was even easier to glimpse into the homes of other people. See, I was always yearning to see, how did others live? Not much made sense about my own home life. Of course, Marcy and I had one of those invisible lines right down the center of our room that siblings often have. An attempt on her part to set boundaries, to keep some space from the compulsively bothering little sister I was. I copied everything she did. Paddleball, guitar, juggling. See, I was always reaching up and out toward her, hoping to find something solid. I didn't realize that she was reaching out and away. A typical night growing up around our dinner table, 5 p.m., sounded like this. First, my dad would exclaim, "I'm going to have the last word." Mom and sis remained quiet. And then I would make this funny squeaking sound like, eek, eek. Yeah, not even a freaking word. But it was enough for him to stand up, slide the belt out of his pant loops, and chase me, reiterating, "You'll get hit twice as hard if you run out the front door." So I headed into my bedroom. That's the same room where he was always telling me, "Clean up this mess." So one day I took all the shirts, the jackets, and the bags off the end of my desk chair, and I tossed them into the closet. And then when he came in mad, and I remember telling myself, I didn't do anything today to make him mad. There wasn't anything easy for him to grab and throw. And I saw his expression change the moment he decided to pick up the chair and toss that. I never cleaned my room that well again. Yeah, defiant. Yeah, but I promise you, it was not bravery. It was more like I was caught up in this addiction to resist. I couldn't stop myself, and I really felt stupid, like fighting a war I'd never win, and wishing I could be as smart as Marcy when it came to our dad. Yeah, Marcy left home the day after high school graduation and hitchhiked to Massachusetts. As a senior in high school, I go to visit Marcy in Boston. It's a very snowy day, a blizzard. She had slipped away with minimal contact between us. But this visit, I'll never forget. She said, "Judy, I wanted you to know, actually, you are the brave one. Always standing up to him. I cowered from him, left as soon as I could, or else one of us was going to end up dead, either him or me. And the truth is, in terms of our relationship, we don't really have that much in common other than being blood. I don't think we'd really be friends." Left out like a stray cat in the alleyway, only one notch even lonelier. And then she disappeared again, lost to the addiction of pain meds and alcohol. I also moved out shortly after high school, but I stayed local in Brooklyn. By age 19, I knew I would have to leave. I didn't know where I would go, but I have to find my people. And then there was this moment where I actually moved back in with my dad. Yeah, he seemed so lost and alone, even vulnerable, after my mom divorced him and moved in with her woman lover. Now, I think I was hoping to find some sweetness between us, and somehow I never gave up on that idea. And that time was different. It was softer and more connected, but not with words. There wasn't the daily fighting. It was almost like a truce. Each night, quiet dinners that I cooked. And knowing it was temporary felt safer and worth the risk. The day I left Brooklyn in a Dodge Coronet 440 with $400 and 2 suitcases, he stood on the porch. No parting words. I couldn't tell how he felt about me as a 19-year-old woman going on the road by herself. Did he think me brave? Crazy? Part of me really hoped that he was worried deep down. But I made up a story that he was proud of me for following my heart. There's little evidence to base that on. I headed left to California. Only it took me 10 years to get there. See, I'd have to stop to fix my car, find temporary work, and of course, fall in and out of love. Too far west and too broke, I missed my grandmother's funeral. I'd find one of those old phone booths. They were all glass that you could look out into nature, and occasionally I would call my mom to check in. I found out my sister got seriously sober with Alcoholics Anonymous. So I grew up on the road by myself, driving from one hot spring to another just as a destination, some roadmap to follow. Holy Magic Nightmare. That's my dog's name. Picked her up in Detroit, Michigan. She was an abandoned mutt chasing butterflies along the highway. Outside of Telluride, Colorado, arriving at the trailer of Anne, caretaker of the Springs. Turns out she was 88 years old and had outlived 8 husbands. I knocked. Her door opened wide and easily, and I heard her say, "My gosh, you're just the spitting image of my deceased sister, and today was her birthday. Thank God you came to visit. I was missing you so much. Let's sit down and have some tea." We talked till first light. Somehow sharing her deep family secrets kept us both entertained. "Can I tell you about the time that I worked for the railroad. This town was a stop, and I could tell something was out of the ordinary. Something was different. I put my ear to the tracks, and the vibration, it wasn't the same. So I called ahead to the station master and saved many lives. Turned out the front car had gotten loose and was riding too fast. And then there was the time went to Alaska with my third husband. Way back then, it was wild. Got in a terrible car accident, and they took me to the closest emergency room. Right there and then, they declared me dead. And as they were rolling me out to the morgue, you see, I was hovering above. God said to me, Anne, if you're willing to feel the pain from the accident, you can come back into your body. Well, I was still a young woman, and I still had a lot to live. Oh, 3 days later, that ER doctor came to visit, and he was shocked when I repeated every word he'd said to me that day. I kept in touch with her for a number of years. See, I sent her simple postcards, always around her sister's birthday. In Olympia, Washington, I meet Jasper Martin, living on his organic farm. He's 84, and at that point, I'm 30 years old. The connection is so strong. I return to visit him each summer. Hey, Jasper, how come every time we get together, something dramatic happens? Like that time that I saw the bees swarming, you called the neighbor, the beekeeper, to capture the queen, and you said we were standing far enough away. But then all the bees got stuck in my long braids, and they started to go under those dark black rimmed glasses you had, and we spent a lot of time just squishing the bees with our fingers on each other's bodies. I couldn't believe it. You had that tool that we could get the stingers out, and I appreciate it. Jasper called me up when we were just a summer break at San Francisco State University. Judith, can you come? I need your help. I've got a really bad cancer and I'm going to pass soon. I'll send you a plane ticket. Jasper was a theosophist, and they believed that the purpose of human life is spiritual emancipation upon reincarnation. I think he was one of the first true New Age thinkers I'd ever met. So we had a brilliant setup, 3 assistants. 2 of us did 12-hour shifts for Jasper, and the third person took care of our needs. At breakfast one morning, I asked, so Jasper, you know I don't believe in reincarnation, but what were we? Husband and wife? Father and daughter? Oh, no, Judith. Brother and sister. His last day was filled with pain and discomfort, but he refused any of the morphine push. He was determined to remain unmedicated. He was so excited to fully experience passing. And of course, the more I tried to help him, the more uncomfortable he appeared. So I left the room and I went to the bookcase in the hallway and picked a magazine off the shelf, like picking a tarot card out of a deck. The Monthly Theosophist. And there was an article reminding people, quote, if we are with the dying and cannot be fully present in ourselves, it is of higher ethics to leave the room until one can get centered. How can this be? The exact words I needed to carry on, to ground and return. Oh, So lucky, so honored. I was with him when he took his last breath. And he had absolutely no fear. I took from this experience a belief that in the end, who and what one needs will be there. It may be a stranger or an occasional visitor. It is not necessarily the people that we build around us, but someone will fill that space. Living in San Francisco, the Bay Area mecca for movement, dance, and healing, I was still unclear about my direction and passion, but I had experienced my healing hands at a very young age, about 9, when my dad, who had bad sciatica pain, asked me, "Judy, could you rub the back of my legs and just see if that helps at all?" He'd lie on his belly with only his white underwear on. Nothing weird, nothing sexual. Only daddy's little girl getting finally to do something right. Yeah, I idolized my dad. I wanted to please him whenever I could. As a building inspector for the New York City Department of Hospitals, he got called to solve construction problems. Often in 15 minutes, he'd solve the problem. The whole crew was back to work. A genius for someone who had to drop out of high school to support his family because his dad fell off a ladder and got paralyzed. One of the 3 boys had to pick up the slack, and it was him. And growing up, our phone rang often late at night, house emergencies for all the people. He would just get up and go, no questions. Charmed everyone around him with his smile and helpfulness. We always had chores, but more than just dishes and laundry. House painting was one of the chores I actually liked. When I was in my late teens, I knew enough to go on jobs with him. At the end of a long and hard day of painting an apartment, he would say, "You have more paint on you than on the walls." It's a silly little line, but it still stings. And it's true. I wasn't as skilled as he was. My wipe-up rag and my white overalls often had the color of the paint we were using. According to him, I was supposed to be proficient right away at everything I put my hand to. No time to learn from mistakes, but that is how humans learn, by making mistakes, and this was a revelation to me as an adult. I still wanted to hear him say, "Thank you for helping today." Years later, when I recount this story to my daughter, she shares the possibility that maybe this was his way of saying thank you. Maybe. But back then, these were the words that continued to shatter the belief in myself. Most of you remember the '89 earthquake, right? Well, I was up on the 12th floor at UCSF as part of the physical therapy program. It's one of those rooms with the large glass jars filled with fetuses and body parts soaked in formaldehyde. So not only was I going to die as everything went swaying violently, but I'd be buried in slimy pieces of bodies, and it freaked me out. But let me tell you, physical therapy in medical school, they don't stop for anything. We were scheduled to dissect a dog the very next day, but Jim, my study buddy, and I, we left. We left with full knowledge that failing even one class could get us thrown out of the program. And we spent the afternoon in Golden Gate Park, passing juggling balls back and forth. Finals arrived that same semester when at 4:30 a.m., Libby, that's my father's second wife, the woman who convinced my dad to throw out all of my childhood mementos when they moved to Florida, without asking me. She called to tell me my dad died. See, he worked every day till age 65, never called in sick, retired, moved to Florida with Libby, and died within 2 years of a work-related cancer called mesothelioma from the asbestos he handled. We had shared a few calls during that year of physical therapy school. He was tired from the chemo treatment and softer than usual. I think it was because he was scared and in pain. He told me that asbestos was a dream come true when it was developed. It made the work so much easier, and no one knew of its danger till much later. Arriving in Miami, the next day for the funeral, I met up with 3 of his 6 siblings left and my sister Marcy. Seeing her for the first time for many years, we bonded. As we were greeting those arriving at the house after the service, oh, accolades for a man most of them had barely known 2 years. Oh, your father! He's the only man in the room who got up and gave me a chair the other night at the meeting. I love to your dad. He was so kind and gentle with Libby's grandchildren. It was just a pleasure to watch him. There's a hesitation in the line. Marcy and my eyes lock. He was a bastard, right? Right. I return to the line with a smile, remembering how lucky I am to have a sibling. No matter how distant we had been, she would always be the only person who knew my full truth, and my heart opened to her again. At one point, Marcy and I are in the front room. My nose is buried in my dad's vest. It's been so long since I smelled him. In walks a tall white man in Florida golfing shorts and a bright Florida shirt, not funeral attire at all. He finds us right away, bends down, and begins to speak. Every Friday night, your dad and I, we shared a gin and tonic at the bar before we went back to our family. One night, he took a photograph out of 2 young girls and said these were his daughters and that he loved them very much. My dad shared this secret with a stranger, a secret Marcy and I had not heard from his lips. And when this man heard about the funeral, he had to find us because he said, I lost a son that I also withheld this secret from. Then he took his 2 giant manly arms and just wrapped them around each of us and held us tight to his sides before he left like an angel. In walks Libby. Judith, what are you doing over there by my jewelry? I can't believe it. Were you going to steal? I'm done. I want you out of my house right now. Even in his death, humiliation is closing in on me. In solidarity, my uncle, 2 aunts, and Marcy, we left the house, never to return or ever to speak with Libby again.
Yay. Yay.
Places, 5 minutes to curtain. I'm standing backstage in the dark. I can hear the loud buzz of the audience, the chaotic dissonance of the orchestra warming up. The corset of my 18th century costume digs into my ribcage. I try to breathe. Opening night, toy, toy, toy. Thanks, you too, see you out there. Me, 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 me. My voice feels tired. Did I talk too much at dinner last night? I take a sip of water. What are the words to my first recitative? Final call for places, top of Act 1. I walk to the wings, where the thick, heavy black curtains hang suspended from the ceiling some 50 feet above us. Looking up, I can see a crosshatch of long bars of light suspended in midair. I wave to Fiordaligi on the other side of the stage. Here we go! The oboe plays concert A, and the entire orchestra joins, tuning till they reach a unison. And silence, and the overture begins. Over the rhythmic pulling of the strings, the winds begin to play the first theme, then the second and third, weaving them together like dancers looping arms as they pass. I remember my first time on stage with orchestra as a young girl dancing in the Nutcracker. I wasn't the most talented ballerina, but I could feel how Tchaikovsky wanted me to move. The lean and stretch of his phrases, the synthesis of sound and emotion, feeling his music go through me. And opera, singing Dorabella is like dancing with Mozart. The curtain comes up on Ferrando and Guglielmo. They sing of their love for my sister and I, and Don Alfonso wages a bet to test our love, arguing, "Così fan tutte." All women are unfaithful. I'm almost on. My voice, will it be okay? I carefully lift my petticoat and full skirt. The stagehand opens the door. I'm flooded with light. The 60-person orchestra vibrating together hits me first. I feel the audience, silent, still buzzing. They've become one organism. I feel its gaze. I walk toward Fiordaligi, clutching my locket, Dorabella's locket, with a picture of her betrothed. Underneath my costume, I'm wearing a necklace with a heart made of tiny diamonds, given to me by my Nana. It used to be hers. She's been in the hospital for 2 weeks now and isn't getting any better. We're not supposed to bring valuables to the theater, but I like having the heart with me on stage. Osservat un poco. Osserva ne fuoco mi sguardi, se fiamma si tardi, non sembra un soccor, se fiamma si tardi, non sembra un soccor. Bravi tutti! We did it! Hey, you're coming out after? We're all going to Absinthe. Yeah, we have tomorrow off. Why not? I'm glad I wore my red dress. Absinthe is packed. It's just before midnight. I make my way up to the bar. Excuse me, I hope I'm not bothering you, but were you in the show tonight? Yes, I sang Dorabella. I thought that was you. You were amazing. Thank you. I'm Luis. Dark eyes, shiny black hair to his shoulders, sharp nose, dimples. Luis could pass for a soccer player with Real Madrid. But in his fedora and trench coat, he's dressed like Humphrey Bogart in Casablanca. Where did this guy come from? Can I buy you a drink? I'm suspicious of men who ask me out after shows, but Luis seems nice. and he's really cute.
Hmm.
Sure. What are you having? That looks good. Oh, it's a sidecar. It's cognac with orange liqueur, sugar rim. That sounds perfect. Thank you. Do you live in the city? Yeah, I'm in the Mission. Grew up in the South Bay. You? I'm in the Outer Sunset, Central Valley originally. Central Valley, like on a farm? No. I did grow up with 5 brothers and a sister, though. 7 kids. Wow. What was that like? It was fun, crazy. Little things like we couldn't eat out because we took up too much room in the restaurant, and it was too expensive. And when we'd travel, we'd all stay in one motel room with half of us on the floor. My dad would sneak us past the registration desk in strategic waves. Well, yeah, we had this huge van with 3 rows of bench seats. It was so big you could stand up and walk around in it, but no air conditioning. And, with so many people, you're never alone. There's always someone to play with, sing with, dance with. I love that. My parents came here from Colombia, and we'd spend our summers there. All of us, my grandparents' house, my sister, brothers, cousins. My grandfather would play the guitar, and we'd all sing. I'd love to have a big family someday. Me too. Well, maybe half as big as mine. What do you do, Luis? I run a nonprofit. We help first-generation high school kids go to college. My education really changed my life, so I've made it my mission to help these kids. Wow, that's impressive. But you've mastered your craft. I admire that. Sometimes I wonder if it matters and if it's enough, sacrificing these other things in life to do these shows that open and close. I think it matters a lot. Your music feeds people's souls. And I bet every night you perform, there's some young girl who's totally inspired by you. Luis holds my gaze, unwavering. I look down. His hands are thick, heavy. They look like they're made of clay. Would you like to dance? We could dance the foxtrot. That was my Nana's dance. I don't know how. Let me teach you. Luis takes my hand and it disappears inside of his. I feel the weight of his other hand on my back. So it's gonna go back, step, step, step. Okay, step, 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 step. Yeah, is that right? Yeah, that's it. You got it. That's great. Let yourself go, so please be sweet, my chickadee. And when I kiss you, just say to me, it's delightful, it's delicious, it's delectable, it's delirious, it's dilemma, it's the limit, it's deluxe, it's lovely. Last call for alcohol. What time is it? Oh shit, Amy, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna miss my last train. It was nice to meet you. Luis grabs his trench coat and runs out the door. He didn't ask for my number. Amy, I forgot my hat. I see his fedora sitting on the chair. I step closer to hand it to him. As he puts it on his head, he leans in to kiss me. I fancy you, Amy. Would you let me take you out on a proper date sometime? We exchange numbers, and Luis turns and runs back out through the door, disappearing to catch the last eastbound train. What do you call a man like that? How do you even try to give it a name? Classification. What do you call a man like that? Something from days gone by, a kind of a wind blown from the past. But how do you find it? From what time or place or fairy tale comes someone so ridiculous, so earnest, so strong? What do you call a man like this? How to describe his hands, so tense and so easy, so controlled yet unpredictable, the tornado of his eyes shining bright, finding light, wanting something, knowing something, seeing something, something holy, something newly born, without a After Cozy closes, I spend all of my weekends with Luis. Every time I see him, he has a little present for me stashed in the pockets of his grandfather's trench coat, presenting me with a dark chocolate bar, an empanada, an heirloom tomato. When I stay over, he cooks us dinner from scratch and irons my dress for work in the morning. We get back to his apartment after riding our bikes to the market, and we spread all of our ingredients for dinner out on the counter and open a bottle of Tempranillo. Luis starts chopping the jalapenos. Hot, hot, hot. Hot, hot, hot. Luis, I think I'm falling for you. I am. I'm falling for you. You are? It's kind of scary. What are you afraid of? I haven't really had a boyfriend since just after college. He broke my heart when he ended it. I understand. My dad left us when I was 8. I think I'm afraid of the rug being pulled out from under me. But hey, let's not worry, okay? Luis wraps his arms around my waist, puts his hands on my face, traces my lips with his finger. Ow, my lips! Oh shit, the jalapenos, hold on. He pulls out a container of Greek yogurt, scoops up a glob and smears it on my lips. Better? I look ridiculous. No, you look cute. I'm gonna wash my hands though. We don't want the jalapenos to come between us. Hey, Amy, I was thinking, you should come meet me in Austin. I'll be there through the 8th. You could fly out after I finish work. Unless you don't want to. No, I do. I think that's when my agent wants me to fly to Florida for an audition. I could do both. I could fly from Austin to Florida. It would make the trip shorter. Luis wraps his arms around me. We could go to all the amazing restaurants and live music venues, and you'd be the perfect tour guide since you used to live there. Luis starts kissing the back of my neck. We don't finish dinner. Luis uses his frequent flyer miles for my trip to Austin, and my agent books my flight to Florida. I can do both, right? I can have an opera career and a cute boyfriend. I'll just have to be super prepared way in advance and get plenty of rest. It'll be fine. But the truth is, I'm already behind. I've spent all my free time the past month with Luis. I have a new aria to learn. The next week, I practice every morning before work, but I'm still not nailing the run. Shit. I practice the Italian every night, but I'm still blanking on the words. Io sono docile, Damn it. Luis, my aria's not ready. But I thought you spent all week on it. Well, normally I'd spend at least a month. A month for one audition? Wow. Okay, come here. Maybe you just need to decide that you're ready, Go and sing your heart out. They'll see your passion. You've got the voice. Don't worry. Is Luis right? Am I making singing harder than it needs to be? Do I just need to believe in myself? No, Luis doesn't understand. He's not a singer. Opera demands perfection. I'm lying to myself, thinking I can do both. But can I even cancel on Luis now? Would he understand? Should he understand? I don't know. I haven't had to explain this to a boyfriend before. I go ask my therapist. Are you willing to accept that this trip might adversely affect your audition? No, but I'm always missing out on things. This is exactly why I'm still not married. Well, you said Luis is supportive of your singing. He is. He's a great cheerleader. Well, why don't we see if he can be supportive of the other aspects of being with a performer, not just the glamorous ones. Luis hasn't seen any of the bad stuff. My performance anxiety, how tired and crabby I am at the end of a long day of rehearsals and my day job. I've been hiding it from him. But he's already there for work. I don't know how I'd explain that to him over the phone. Maybe write a thoughtful email. This sounds great. I don't have to deal with any of my anxiety about the trip or face him about it. Dear Luis, I really need more time to prepare for this audition. I'm so sorry, but I'm not able to go to Austin after all. Let's go on another trip soon. XOXO. And send. Well, that was easy. My phone dings. It's a photo from Luis. He's sitting in a bar, wearing his fedora, holding a cocktail that looks like a sidecar. Shit! He hasn't seen the email. Hi, Luis. Looks amazing. Can you check your email? Gotta go. TTYL. Shh! Shit! I try calling, but he doesn't answer. I email 1,000 words of apology, but he barely acknowledges me. Shit! I can't believe I listened to my therapist's shitty advice. What does she know? She's a single middle-aged woman. Oh crap. Is that what I'm becoming? I don't want to go to Florida. I want to be with Luis. I want to spend my life with someone. Why is something I'm so good at making my life so hard? I can't practice. I can't do anything. I lie down, stare at the ugly white walls. I've never painted. Thinking I'll meet someone and move out of this apartment that's only big enough for me. The night is bitter. The stars have lost their glitter. The winds grow colder, and suddenly you're older, and all because of the man that got away. No more his eager call, the writings on the wall, the dreams you've dreamed have all gone astray. The man who won you has run off and undone you. The great beginning has seen the final inning. Don't know what happened. It's all a crazy game. No more that all-time thrill, for you've been through the mill, and never a new love will be the same. The road gets rougher, it's lonelier and tougher. With hope you burn up, tomorrow he might turn up. There's just no let up. The livelong night and day. Ever since this world began, there's nothing sadder than a one-man woman looking for the man that got away. It's still lovely.
Yay! Yay! Yay!
Hi there. David Ford thought it was important that I introduce myself so that you don't confuse me with Marion. My name is Johanna Courtleigh, and I, is in part my creation, but I actually take no responsibility for anything she says. Of course you don't. Consider me like a channel. And I am what? Your hobgoblin? No, but you are a separate entity from whom I've taken dictation. Entity, is it? Well, and you are what? My God? I guess you could say that. Well, I am going to be jumping into the driver's seat, using you to speak for me. So be gone, for God's sake, which is all it is anyway. Fine. Fine. I have better things to do than to bicker. Because you see, I think it's important to get this story out into the world. You are a New Age publisher, yes, with connections. Not that this is any kind of New Age drivel. Sorry, none of that, oh, you create your own reality rigmarole. Actually, quite grounded, I think. Embodied. Not another Eat, Pray, Love starring Javier Bardem, though I wouldn't toss him out of bed. But something more practical and low calorie. You see, I went to India. I was close to being no longer married at that point, and I was taking my space, as they say, coming to terms. Well, marriage, like beauty, is not a surface thing. Oh, sure, we had gone through the ritual, said our vows, a spectacular performance, if I do say so. Not an eye was dry. So you can imagine people's shock. Well, they take sides, don't they, and some journey along with us, and others fall by the wayside, distracted by some meaningless tourist attraction or bauble shop. Or in the case of my soon-to-be ex-husband, a younger, prettier version. The little tart, how boringly cliche. I was there to see the temples. Oh, some say you've seen one temple, you've seen them all, but that is not the truth of it. I came for the art, the statues, how for decades and centuries and eons, the union of man and woman had been celebrated, consecrated, embellished perhaps, but held on high nonetheless. I had once hoped that my husband would have taken an interest. Tantra, a spiritual awakening through the intercourse of male and female, or in the words of the Pointer Sisters, a slow hand, sacred meditation building the energy. Well, I'd read about it, but had never actually experienced it, I'm sorry to say. Oh, I had cajoled and flirted with and implored my husband to recognize that, hello, over here, someone else was actually there with him, and that something else was possible besides a grunt and a thud and a wet spot and a snore. Such is the downfall of virginity till marriage. His, not mine, not that he knew. I became dutiful, servicing his needs. Oh, why do they call it that? Desires. Now that's something I can relate to. Do you know where that word comes from? I have no idea. So, single as I was, well, as I am, you can find me on sensualsoulmates.com if you put in a little effort. I wanted to know if the great ones had ever considered something like this. Table for one, a solo ticket to paradise. I mean, really, if God had not meant for us to meet ourselves in that kind of ecstasy, why would he have made it so that our hands could reach? Oh, and so I was wandering the temples looking for this, not the dreary consorts you see over and over again, but sovereignty in its highest. Because I was writing the book and I needed images, proof of a history. And if not, if there was nothing to be found, well, perhaps I had struck gold. Yes, bringing to the world a sacred sexuality that no one could deny, prudes that we are. Every single one of us is here because someone had an orgasm, but hopefully some too, and we hide ourselves in shame. Oh, when our bodies are made glorious. And from pleasure, I might add. Women, either denigrated as whores or held on high as virgins. I decided it was time to bring the goddess out from the gutter. She was there. just near the entrance to the Kali temple, close to the hotel. You enter that sacred chamber. And if you are quiet enough and you take off your shoes and you feel the soft, cool marble on the palms of your feet, and if you take in the perfume of the incense and allow the hollow echo of the air to sing to you, and if you feel the velvet of it against your skin and the heart and heat of all of those who have prayed there, chanting their mantras like an incantation to a God you've never even imagined, you may begin to feel this beautiful radiance permeating into your very cell structure. Well, I did. And I sat down to meditate and felt like I was falling into a dream. And something began to awaken in me. I had been here before. This had been my home, lifetimes. Oh, I'm not huffing and puffing about a spiritual awakening. And yet I am, all at the same time, little old me. There was something palpable there. Kali, the creator, the destroyer, a woman on high, certainly not apologizing for herself. And when I opened my eyes, when my eyes opened me, everything was reverberating in the most delicate, sublime light. Well, I had lost track of time and it was almost dusk. A bewitching hour, not a bright thing to do, a woman alone wandering in India. But I know well enough how to protect myself. You keep your eyes down, you have your satchel across your body, and you do not talk to strangers, which everyone is there. Actually, quite strange. I drifted out of the temple, and there was an old woman lounging, one might say, in the rubble. And she looked at me, and I looked back, breaking the rules. And it was a look I had never seen before. It was so pure and so present and so full of love would be diminishing. It would make a mockery. Her gummy mouth with her few wayward teeth, her runny eyes, are horrible to hold that gaze. And yet, there she was, shimmering, the divine mother, sitting on not even a proper sidewalk, with a hand outstretched, motioning to her mouth that she was hungry, begging. I don't know why, but I ventured a small smile. Well, you don't want to encourage them. But her smile was both so ridiculous and so captivating that we both started to laugh. Now, you can do this in India. You see, no one is going to tuck you off and throw away the key, because for all of its disgusting degradation, there is indeed a holiness. And well, if you are awakening, so be it. And if you are sleeping on the sidewalk, so be it. And if you are begging, so be it. And no one is cast out. The wild dogs ruffling through the garbage and the Brahmin cows lazing in the marketplace. The schoolgirls in their immaculate uniforms, their perfect black braids cascading down their backs, jostling and laughing. The little boys, barefoot, wandering through the traffic, trying to sell their insignificant trinkets to the drivers, ignoring them as they tap gently at the windows. The yellow rickshaws scooting and dodging like wild bumper cars, a whirlwind of crazy aliveness. And then I saw it. They were all me, totally different, totally, but one and the same. The emaciated old man, barely holding himself up, hobbling with his walking stick and his worn down flip-flops. Namaste. Oh, I could hardly breathe. The divine in me, acknowledging the divine in them, in me, in them. It was just that. There had never been any separation. And I sat down with her. I just plopped myself right down midst the muck and the rubble, a perfect trail of tiny ants glorifying the garbage. And I realized I was not only laughing, I was also weeping, tears of joy just heaving through me. And she took my hand, my clean white skin, my perfect nails next to her craggy filth. And we were one. I could smell the stench of her never properly bathing. But she smelled like how you imagine a newborn fawn might smell, fresh and musky. I know this sounds mad, I know, believe me. Well, it was all very lovely and romantic and dreamy until a small crowd began to gather, which grew larger and larger, those wide black eyes staring, a fascination, a celebration. Well, a white woman, and suddenly a free-for-all. There were hands all over me, pinching my skin, pulling at my clothes, touching my hair, grabbing at my satchel, their grubby hands trying to get in and take anything they could find. Stop it, I yelled. Please, leave me alone. But now the old woman, this so-called spiritual mother of mine, was grabbing too, but she still had hold of my hand and wouldn't let go. She was surprisingly strong, and I started feeling like I was going to be buried alive. Back off, I cried out. And then I remembered, a terrible self-defense class I took when I was in school. Well, London is not always a proper place one thinks about when they think of England. A woman isn't really safe anywhere in the world. Ever since Eve apparently bit the apple. And I started jabbing with my elbows and screeching like a maniac, digging my nails into whatever flesh was upon me. Thank God for acrylic. And I finally forced my way out of that sea of bodies that had gathered there. And I was running, tripping on the jagged, broken pavement, stumbling over the garbage and the excrement and the rotting fruit. And I ran out into the street, into the 8 or 9 crazy lanes of traffic that were now dodging me, a wild symphony of honking and screeching and trucks and rickshaws and bicycles. I had dropped my glasses, so things were a bit of a blur. And it's a testimony to whatever God there might be that I made it back to the hotel in one piece and still fairly alive. Well, pulling myself together, I had to go through security. All the nicer hotels have it now. And even though they had seen me those several days I had been staying and knew who I was, we had chatted politely. The look of shock on the face of the guards took me aback. How strange. You see, even though I had basically been attacked, gone apparently was the habit of victimizing myself with a poor me. It was all just life. And like a camera lens, I was recording it all, the mind and I bearing witness to the world. Honestly, I was a bit amused, despairing too. Adieu, my romantic idealism, and good riddance to that. Life is difficult, so said the Buddha, and so say I. I was granted entry and carried myself past the guards into the foyer where, Rajeshwari, the concierge, an immaculately tidy woman, immediately scuttled over. Is Madame all right? I nodded and smiled. Yes, all is well, thank you. No, you're not. Look at you. Shall I call a doctor? The police? Please, no. I just had a small encounter, nothing to worry. But I do. I see this all the time. You Westerners come, you go to the temples, you have a moment of Shakti and you think you're enlightened. No harm was done. Where are your shoes? Oh, I lost one, so I tossed the other off. It was a Friday night. There was a wedding party just starting up, and the women in their finery, their silk salwar kameez and their lovely bejeweled saris, stood there, stunned. Again, I smiled and nodded, namaste, hello, with a bit of a laugh, as one does when there's an awkward situation to attend to. This is not how to behave in India, madame. I'm sorry, but I'm worried you might come to some real harm. I need to talk to my supervisor. You are not to talk to anyone. Madame, I forbid you, please. It is enough that I am entertaining your concerns. I am going to go now and have a good wash. We will speak in the morning. You will not be going out alone again. We will be sending someone. No. Please, just think what I've been telling. Good night, Rajeshwari. We are done. Good night, madame. I scuffled myself across the foyer, a gentle chant droning in the background and the loud beat of a mediocre rock band pounding from the bar. There are fresh lotuses in the fountain, a mulberry color, so lovely, and I am back to something that makes sense, a simple beauty that is not so simple at all, a place none of the people who'd accosted me would ever even begin to have access to. I take the lift back up to my room and stumble in and immediately draw a bath. I take off my clothing. Oh dear, there will be bruising tomorrow. I'd been in a fight with half of India, apparently, and I wash them all off of me, destroying the evidence, and pour myself a nice glass of sherry and sit, not at the window, but at the mirror, at the dressing table. Who is this who has just been through this, what, ordeal, grace, gift, robbery? I look at myself, a vast emptiness hovering behind my eyes. And again, I start to laugh. Damn that foul husband. This here, me, I am my own soulmate, my beloved, my own precious divine mother. And all is remarkably well. Well, of course they had tried to get something from me. I would have done the very same had I been living in such terrible poverty. And so I don't blame them, not in the least, because somehow I know what it is like to be them. Perhaps not in this lifetime, but I know, oh, this grand theatre, humanity, each given our role in the play, a play of chaos and beauty and mystery and God, a theatre of the most desperately absurd. At any moment, someone shoved out into the world, being born, while someone else is digging in their heels, resisting dying. Every cell of my body is humming. And I lay down on my bed. Oh, heaven. And breathe. Simply breathe. Great waves of joy pulsing through. And I become the infinite. I become the seas. I become the sounding of the Om, the beginning in time, the arising and ceasing of all things, the great orgasmic roar of creation. Look, Ma, no hands. Every molecule dancing its perfect, exquisite ballet. And I am making love with it. It is making love with me. No need for a partner. No need for anything at all. I am in love. It is as simple and complex as that. And then I realized the title of my offering, my book, my assignment in this grand, beautiful scheme of things. This love affair that is at once the everything and the nothing, that is the goddess and the gutter sweeper. And I'm calling it and offering it to you for your consideration. The Kama Sutra for one. Hopefully, please soon, yes, to be available on Amazon.
Yay! Yay! Yay!
Church camp, 1991. I'm a new camp counselor. Today, I find out that the camp director wants to meet specifically with our youth group. Now, it's come to my attention that some in your group brought radios to camp. Seriously? Radios? Okay, Okay, first of all, my Sony Walkman Professional with Dolby Sound is so much more than just a radio. But secondly, how did he find out? Oh, I know. I bet you it was that one camp counselor from Lodi, Greg something. He's such a goody two-shoes. I find this behavior to be nothing more than an act of overt rebellion. Overt rebellion. Because of a radio? Later on that night, there was a new guest speaker for the Sunday evening service. Good evening, everybody. I want to talk to you all about something. I think as God-fearing believers for Christ, we need to be careful what we take into our minds and bodies. Well, you know the saying, garbage in, garbage out. So perhaps you shouldn't be watching that rated R movie. Maybe you shouldn't be listening to music like Guns N' Roses, Metallica, or Madonna. Madonna? What's wrong with Madonna? I personally don't know any truly on-fire believers for Christ who listen to anything other than Christian music. Is this guy for real? Wow, if looks could kill. Well, that convinces me only more that this needed to be said. I leave the service that night angry and confused. What does this have to do with Jesus? Well, if I'm being honest, this isn't the first time I've heard such theology. It's 1984. I'm a freshman in high school. Like a virgin, touch for the very first time. Come in. Dinner's ready. What are you listening to? Madonna? That woman's going to hell. Well, then why do you pray for her, Dad? Why bother? Ah, my father. Oh, but don't let his gruff exterior fool you. He's really a softie on the inside. And besides, he wasn't always like this. No. You see, before my father converted to Pentecostalism, he used to preach a whole other kind of religion. Rolling Stones, best rock and roll band ever. But Dad, what about the Beatles? The Beatles? The Beatles were for the girls. I never cared for the Beatles. Mom. No one can touch Mick Jagger. You see, in my early childhood, rock and roll reigned supreme. Our house was filled with Dad's music that played on his decked out stereo system that included a turntable, dual cassette player, complete with fader, that he would make his mixtapes from. He would record from vinyl to cassette, hours and hours of mixtapes for our listening pleasure on those long rides to Grandma's house during the holidays. I can't get no satisfaction. During weekend afternoons, my father would catalog his record collection on sheets of paper kept in a binder. Songs he owned in alphabetical order by artist, and songs that were missing that he was still looking for. Oh, and the Bible in our house back then? 2 books that sat on the living room coffee table. Rock On, the Illustrated Encyclopedia of Rock and Roll, volumes 1 and 2. If a musician had a hit, or even a semi-hit, they were in there. But by the mid-'80s, my father gave up on rock and roll. He joined a Pentecostal church that would preach about how naughty the lyrics were and that secular music. And so he threw out all his records. His Creedence Clearwater Revival, his Janis Joplin, his Rolling Stones. So long, satisfaction. See you later, brown sugar. Bye-bye. Sympathy for the zip. Okay, yeah, that one sounds bad. I think your father has joined a cult. My mother confides to me one day when I'm in high school. So You can imagine how freaked out she must have been when just a few years later I would join my friend's Christian non-denominational church. Oh, I like the youth group. It's fun. We sing songs, play softball. But yeah, church? Not exactly how I was raised. When I got home from summer camp, I couldn't stop thinking about the preacher's words. He didn't know any truly on-fire believers for Christ who listened to anything other than Christian music. Did he have a point? Is my father right? Okay, I've decided. I'm only going to listen to Christian music. I enthusiastically declare to Brandon, my friend, fellow youth group leader, and secret crush. Oh, well, you shouldn't make a vow before God if you're not serious. Oh, no, I'm serious. And besides, you fasted from secular music before, so I'm going to do it too. Well, good for you. The next day, I pull into the parking lot and there it is. Western Christian Music and Bookstore. The place is huge. It's a warehouse. What? I wasn't raised in the church. I didn't even know these places existed. I step inside and I've never seen so many Bibles in my life. Big Bibles, little Bibles, hardback Bibles, travel Bibles, Sunday school Bibles. A pink woman's study Bible. Sold. Oh, and they have t-shirts and bumper stickers and jewelry. Jewelry for Jesus? Can I help you? Oh, yes. Hi, what inspirational artist do you recommend? Well, let's see. There's Sandy Patty, Michael W. Smith, Amy Grant. Oh, yes, Amy Grant. I've heard of her. So I fill up my shopping basket with books and t-shirts and CDs of all the latest and greatest contemporary Christian music that money can buy. I am a new creation. I get home and I try out my new music collection. Okay, let's see.
Jesus is a friend of mine. Jesus is my friend. Jesus is a friend of mine. I have a friend in Jesus. Jesus is a friend of mine. Jesus is a friend of mine. J-S-U-S. He's my Lord and King. J-S-U-S. He's my everything. J-S-U-S. He's my... Here we go! I said a Pharaoh, Pharaoh, oh baby, let my people go. Yeah!
Oh my God, that was to the tune of Louie Louie. That was blasphemy. Okay. This fasting from secular music is going to be harder than I thought. I'm going to make Christian music cool. Eddie, a guy from church, proclaims one Sunday after the service. Really? Can you do that? I'm going to be the next John Roberson. Okay, in the early 90s, John Roberson was the founder of Celebration Concerts and the biggest Christian music promoter around, although I don't think there were that many. What Celebration Concerts was known for was their biggest event of the year, Christian Day at Great America. Every summer, Bay Area church youth groups would show up to Great America by the busloads just to see their favorite Christian music artists perform all throughout the park. It proved to be highly profitable, and Eddie was determined to get a piece of the Christian music pie. Theresa, you should come work for me. Really? What do I have to do? Just show up at church tomorrow. Well, I had high hopes when I first started working with Eddie. Yeah. First we booked Christian rock bands. Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. But then we tried Christian rap. J-Hop, the style to make your body rock. One part Jesus, the other part hip. We even booked a Christian pop band from Australia. All right, everybody, scream if you love Jesus. I think this side of the stage loves Jesus more than this side.
Mm.
It seemed physically impossible to make Christian music cool. And then, oh my God, Theresa, check out the singer. He's fly. The singer is fly. Krista, my bestie from youth group, is gushing over the lead singer of a new band called Tapestry that are playing at our church one Saturday night. So I check out the singer. His jet black hair, his deep blue eyes, his chiseled chin. Wow. I didn't think Christians were allowed to be sexy. Yet, here we are. Oh my God. They had an energy, an intensity, a sincerity that had been missing from our other shows. I grab one of their CDs off the merchandise table and I read the lyrics printed on the inside sleeve. Stephen wants to know about Jesus. He came here with a friend. He's been gay since he was 13. And he hopes you'll understand. People talk about him, they say, can't you see our sin? He came to worship Jesus, not be condemned. We better find some love, or we're never gonna see him again. It was the height of the early 90s grunge era, and Tapestry were part of a new alternative Christian rock movement and sounded a lot more like Pearl Jam and a lot less like Pep Rally. After the show, I watched the guys in the band load out, except for the lead singer, Blake, who was busy signing autographs. Well, shoot, I work in the biz now. That should give me an in, right? Hey, Blake, dug the show. Hope we can book you guys again sometime. Yeah, that'd be cool. Blake, great show, great show. Eddie, he's so uncool. Let's talk. Wow, Eddie's excited and inspired. He doesn't want to just book bands anymore. He wants to start a management company, and Tapestry can be our first band. Blake, get the guys. Let's get a bite to eat. My treat. So the band, Eddie and I, go to Denny's. I somehow end up sitting next to sexy singer, Blake. I thought the show rocked tonight. It did. I don't know, man. My string broke in the middle of the set, and I was like, think. Guitarist. Play a disco song, man. Drummer. I don't believe it, man. Bass player. What did he say? Oh, yeah. Our tour bus caught on fire on the way to a gig last week. We almost missed the show. Your tour bus caught on fire? Yeah. At the end of the evening, Eddie, who had been schmoozing Blake the entire night when I wasn't flirting with him, picks up the tab for dinner. And in that moment, our little music management company is born. Burning bus sections and royalties. Next thing you know, I'm picking up and dropping off Eddie to the airport for his flights to Nashville and back. I'm dealing with the band's record label. We take over their tour schedule and we book them back-to-back shows all over the country. We fly in for the bigger shows, and it was in Orange County, the band's hometown, where I find out just how big this Christian alternative music scene really is. Theresa, here's your pass. VIP? Cool. And just like that, I walked past the hundreds and hundreds of people waiting in line through the tall fence gates and underneath the rope that leads to the backstage area. I plopped down on a couch and I watched the guys in the van warm up. Blake is doing pre-show stretches. What's up, T? Hey, Blake. I could get used to this. I need you on merch. Oh, right. I'm paired up at the merchandise table with the guitar player's girlfriend. Hi, I'm Mia. Hi, Mia. I'm management. Oh, can I help you? I like to try the baby girl crop top in a small. Oh, here you go. Cute. So the singer, is he like single? Honey, get in line. Oh, the show's about to start. I sneak over back to the VIP area and make my way to the side of the stage, just in time to see Blake. What's up, Orange County? It's good to be home. Let's do this. Wow. Blake takes control of a crowd of people, of over 10,000 people who are bobbing their heads back and forth in unison. They're rock stars. They're like famous. And I'm with the band. Oh. I could get used to this.
Yay! 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 Thank you all very much for coming to the Marsh tonight, and thanks to all the performers. And be sure and check out all the other great shows that are happening here. Check out our website. Good night, everybody.
How do I describe my journey with your mother, who takes care of you, who takes you to the doctor when you're sick? Your mother.
Good morning, New York. Buenos dias. It's me. What's up?
We went out for lunch at a sushi place where she tried sushi for the first time and she liked it.
I see that change can happen. I know things can shift and change for good.
I am dizzily dazzled with stars in my eyes.
Same level as I broke my neck. But he's not getting the same return of function I am.
And I don't want any of your smart aleck sex talk that I usually get when I get.
This is beyond the Marsh because what you're doing is planting beautiful seeds for artists to grow.